For today's episode, we're moving cattle. It's July, I'm in the middle of the country in the Midwest, just outside Indianapolis, Indiana, and we're gonna take some cattle and move them from a paddock that they're in today into the next cell down to some fresh grass and some fresh pasture. Stay tuned for that, coming up in this one. The whole idea behind rotational grazing is you're constantly moving the animals from cell to cell. You're sizing those cells differently based upon your climate, your conditions, what the forage is available, the live weight of animals inside those cells. There's a lot of factors that go into it, and they're different for every farmer. Here you can see Darby's cattle inside this cell, and one question that he often gets, and you often hear come up, we get it a lot for the Grassfed Life podcast, is how often do you rotate? And it's one of those questions that doesn't really have a great answer. It depends. It depends on a lot of things. How many cattle are in here? How much do the cattle in here weigh? What season is it? What state is your forage in? What type of forage are in the cells that you're moving? How warm is it out? All different factors play into this.
So kind of a general rule of thumb you'll hear grazers talk about is when you take cattle into a paddock and you rotate them out, you want them to have grazed roughly 60%, knocked down about 30%, and you want to leave about 10% left standing. The reason you want that 10% left standing is this is our future seed. You can tell how dry this is, and if I rake my hand across that, we get seed that's going to fall down to the ground. The next time the cows come through here, they step on those seeds, they push them into the soil, and we get regrowth. We get new plants coming along. We've got different species coming back here in this area. So again, it's just a rule of thumb, but having some big, tall, stemmy plants is not a problem. You actually want that because you're basically building your own seed bank in the soil as you rotate the cows through it.
Even though it's July here in Indiana, the pasture still looks fairly green. It's not all browned out. They've had a lot of spring and early summer rain. It's kept some greenery in the pasture, and as you can see, it's pretty high. Just eyeballing a lot of that forage out there, going up to the seed tops, we're probably 3 feet high, and if you look at some of the lower grasses, you're in the 1 foot level. After 24 hours, you'll see that this will all be totally knocked down after a lot of eating and a lot of trample, and it'll look something like this. Here's what a cell looks like after about 24 hours of grazing. Everything's been knocked down. The cows are still in here waiting to move on to that next set of pasture. This is where the cattle are going to go next. They're going to get moved into a cell that's going to be contained right here with a 2-strand hot wire on a reel. You can see the old hot wire here dividing where they are from the new paddock. What Darby will do is he'll go back 2 runs, take that reel of hot wire, and then leapfrog all this, put a new hot wire in front of this move, so now he creates a contained cell. Then he'll come back, open up this section, and then the next day when he goes to move it, because he's moving them every 24 hours, he'll just repeat the process. So he's leapfrogging every time. So in total, he has 3 reels of hot wire in here, and every time he's going to do a move, he's just taking the very last one, leapfrogging the other 2, moving to the front. That way the cattle are always contained, and you're just working your way down the field or turning around a corner when you want to go back the other way.
So here we've got our O'Brien geared reel hooked up to our external fence, and first thing I want to point out is the geared reel. I really like these a lot more than the non-geared reel. So the geared reel is kind of like a big fishing reel, and basically for every crank of the handle you're getting 3 spins on this bobbin in here, and it just reels it up a lot faster. It's just a lot sturdier. Really don't care for the non-geared reels. They're really slow to pick up, and they just don't seem to last as long. These are a little bit heavier built, I think, and they're worth the extra 10 or 12 bucks that you might pay for one. The way this works is there's like basically a wire staple. You can see it under there, and that just runs through this reel from one side to the other side, comes out over here. We've got metal running all the way through there. We've got our jumper clips here that are hooked up to the external fence, which is already hot. Now we've got power here. We hook up to this staple. Staple's running under there. It's hitting our line here, which this is got like 8 stainless steel conductors running through it. This is a Stay-Fix line. I really like that a lot. I've had most of this line for like 5 or 6 years. Some of it's starting to get a little bit frayed and ratty, but man, it's been a really good purchase. Roll of it's like 50 bucks, but again, it lasts. And that's like 1,300 feet. So 1,300 feet is typically enough for 2 of these reels. Unless you're going a really long distance, you just don't need more than 600 feet, very rarely. So we got our line set up, running through our step-in post here. This is really quick and simple. I mean, this takes me like 5, 6, 7 minutes to tear down the line. I drive a few hundred feet up the pasture, get out where I'm going to set up my next reel. Takes me 5, 6, 7 minutes to set the next one up. Come back down, open the gate, rotate the cows. I move the waterer. This is really quick and simple. I mean, on a slow day, this might take 30 or 40 minutes. Most days, this is 20, 25 minutes max. We're moving, you know, 35, 40 animals at a time, 20,000 pounds of live weight right up through here, mowing down the grass and raising 100% grass-fed beef that people are waiting in line to buy. So we've rotated our cows to a fresh paddock, and as you can see, they are literally just going to town. It's been said that a cow might take as many as 20,000 bites per day. And right now, this pasture that they're in, it kind of got away from us a little bit because we had a really cold, wet spring. We've got a lot of grasses in here that we normally would not have. We're headed towards the middle of July, and you can see specifically this grass right here. This is a very early season perennial ryegrass that typically comes up in early April, and normally this is gone like by the middle of June or end of June, and here we are almost the middle of July and it's still going strong. So we're pinching the cows down pretty tight right now. Normally they wouldn't get this small of an area given the amount of live weight we have in here, but because the grass got a little bit mature and stringy and heady on us, we've condensed them down so we can get the desired effect to get this back under control, to get a good carbon layer mat down through the rotational grazing. And while it seems counterintuitive, smashing it down like this every once in a while is actually really helpful to get really good solid regrowth. So behind me, this is yesterday's paddock. I mean, it's literally 24 hours ago was this tall and stringy. Like I said, we really pinched the cows down because we want to get this all knocked down. You can see a lot of this plant material down here on the ground. Really flat. They've buzzed this down really well. We don't have a lot of seed heads left standing. Normally that's not what we go for, but in this instance, we're using our 4-legged lawnmowers to control the grass and try and kind of get ahead of it and kind of hit the reset button. We've had a lot of rain so far this month in July, so knocking it down this short actually isn't a big deal knowing we've got good soil moisture. We've had below average temps. We're seeing a lot of clover actually come back, which is more of a cool season typically, but it's doing really well rebounding right now. So again, using the cows to really knock this down, get it under control, so we'll have good regrowth coming back. In about 2 weeks, we really start to see everything pop out.
This gives you a nice little look at what a rotational grazing system looks like in the flesh. This is one here in the Midwest at the Simpson family farm just outside Indianapolis, Indiana, where Darby's rotating cattle and pastured poultry around this pasture. If you want to learn more about everything involving grass, be sure to listen to the podcast that Darby and I do. It's Grassfed Life. To learn more about that, just visit the link below and keep watching these videos. I'll try and bring more of them to you from farms just like this. But until the next time, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.